Everybody going to be okay in the big chairs?
Big chair?
Big chair. Hello, everyone. My name is Elaine Clary. I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager at Gainsight. Thank you very much for joining us for our panel session today on how to develop a quarterly business review, or QBR. We have an amazing panel of people up here, a wealth of information. And what we're going to do is just have them each introduce themselves, tell a little bit about their organization, and then talk about their experience with the QBR process, if they have one. And then we'll certainly open it up for questions from the audience. And so we're not going to waste any time. We have about 40 minutes. And so we'll go ahead and get started. Steph, I'll let you lead it off for us.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. My name's Stephanie Stapleton. I'm the Director of Customer Success at a company called Gild. Quarterly business reviews are a really important part of our business strategy. It's kind of a topic you could cover for a really long time, but I only have 5 minutes, so I'll keep it brief. I want to start by talking a little bit about how we do our quarterly business reviews, and then really focus on two things that have been key to us as a kind of early stage startup. And that's the alignment between the buyers and the users, and having that ROI conversation. So for those of you who don't know what Gild is, we're working to bring talent acquisition teams and engineering teams together to find and hire the right technical talent. So our flagship product is called Gild Source. It was launched in 2012, and it's basically a living database of software engineers that our customers can use to find and evaluate technical talent they want to engage with. A little bit more about our company so you get a sense of where we are. We have about 250 customers. Our typical buyer would be a head of talent acquisition or a VP of engineering that's trying to staff up their company. And then our typical users are recruiters or technical sourcers or developers staffing up their own teams. There is 60 people in my organization currently, and we have about 10 of us on the customer success team, but that does encompass all things from support, implementation, to renewals. And I was the first customer person at the company. We didn't even know it was going to be called customer success at the time. My first job was to come in and take what was then our initial beta product out of beta by collecting feedback from our customers, and then second order of business was to really staff out our customer success organization. Sorry, I'm nervous. So we do have a really high-touch engagement model. Everyone does have a designated CSM, and everyone gets quarterly business reviews. And I use the term quarterly extremely loosely. We haven't really mastered the scheduling yet, but in an ideal world, it would be on a quarterly basis. So this slide basically tells you all of my customers are happier when I drink coffee. But the way I really want to frame this is, every quarterly business review we really structure as a conversation between our buyers and our users. So we cover things like usage, the customer relationship over the past quarter, what product releases we've done, our roadmap, but we really focus on making it an interactive conversation between the people that bought it and the users. Because what was happening is, a lot of times in our sales process, the users weren't getting a lot of the great vision that the head of talent acquisition was experiencing throughout the buying process. So we do use quarterly business reviews as that venue to really drive alignment on goals and vision and kind of what the overall thing we're trying to achieve is. The second thing that quarterly business reviews really do for us is they help hold everyone accountable. They help hold us accountable for providing what our customers need. They help hold the users accountable for actually using the product, and the buyers accountable for enabling the user's success. So having everyone in that room and having these tough conversations really also positions us as a trusted advisor, which is kind of every customer success representative's goal. But having this quarterly business review format like this is really great for that, especially at a young stage like we are, where that's one of the biggest value propositions customer success has for our customers. And this leads right into our ROI conversation. We found that having a direct conversation during quarterly business reviews around ROI and what goals you're trying to achieve is extremely important, not only for our customers' success, but also for our organization and our brand strategy. And we do believe in having measurable and specific and all those SMART goals that everyone can achieve. But we use it a lot to learn from our customers. What we actually found is, in the very beginning, we were positioning our product as a discovery tool recruiters could use to find developers. And all of our customers came in during these QBRs, and they were saying things like, yeah, that's definitely one of your good value propositions, but one of the things we're really getting is our development team is really using this to identify candidates and figure things out about them before they go into an interview process, so more of a verification tool. And this actually impacted our entire company strategy and enhanced our value proposition. So when I think about being an early stage company, I really think that having this ROI conversation can really impact the whole business, and you can really be missing the mark on a new product and a new tool if you haven't really been implementing this. So these are some couple of things I just want to point out.
Thank you very much.
Hi, everyone. I'm April Oman, and I'm the VP of Customer Success at Zuora. This is me. This is where I've been. More importantly, I want to talk about Zuora and our story. Zuora is a commerce billing and finance application for businesses with reoccurring billing. Teen, whom you heard earlier in the CEO panel, talked about the subscription economy. We're proud to have been in business for 7 years, 650 customers. And one of the things I'd like to point out on this slide is that we have a 95% customer satisfaction rate, which is super, super exciting. We're hiring. Check out Zuora.com. So one of the things that you might find really interesting is that when I was asked to be on this panel about quarterly business reviews, I'm like, oh, we don't actually do quarterly business reviews. And so how we came to that decision really involves a story, and it's a story about really what our customers need from us. So I'll walk you through a little bit of a journey, and then I'll talk to you about what we do for our customers instead. It does involve glamping, but I won't be showing any nasty pictures of people who didn't get to wash their hair or anything like that. We all know delivering customer success can be very, very hard. When you think about what businesses are doing today, they're shifting from a relationship where they're delivering a product and it's a one and done to a reoccurring billing model in which you have to continually service that customer. And so when you think about doing that, it really impacts not only how you define customer success within your organization, but also how you organize your company around it, and then also how you measure it. What we realized 14 months ago was that we were really disconnected from our customers. We really needed a blueprint. And what was scary about this situation was that as the leader of the customer success management team, I was saying, look, I don't get it. And if I don't get it, that's really bleep, 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 right? And so we embarked on a journey to really start to understand what it was that our customers expected from us. And this isn't so much about what we were trying to get from our customers, but more about what did they need to do in order to grow their business. So over a period of several months, we created this blueprint. You heard Teen refer to it. It's called our 9 Keys for Subscription Success. This was a model that we developed internally, and we spent a significant amount of time talking to customers about it, talking to analysts about it, and then also rolling it out across our entire organization. Now, you may ask, this is on our website, so you don't need to take a picture. In fact, there's white papers, there's a whole bunch of collateral on it. So why did our customers embrace this model? They embrace this model because this is specifically what it is that they're trying to do with a reoccurring billing type of company. They're trying to price, they're trying to acquire, bill, collect. These are all of the things that no matter at what stage they are in their business that they're actually trying to do. And for analysts, the reasons that they embraced this model was because it helped them understand how revenue recognition is very, very different. Now you may say, well, why was it important for an entire company to get an understanding of what the customers were trying to do? This is where the glamping came in. You can see Teen there. He actually has a 9-key tattoo on his back. We branded everybody, but basically what we did was that once we created the model, was that we took 210 CEOs, that's what we call ourselves, out to a place where there was very, very little Wi-Fi and their phones did not work. We basically, over a period of 2 days, we had 21 teams. We gave every single team a customer, and we asked them to walk in our customers' shoes for those 2 days. That meant that they had to understand that customer. They had to create a 9-key analysis of that customer and come back to the entire organization and present to us what that customer was trying to do, and then actually what we, not only from a product perspective, but also from an organizational perspective, service those customers better. Now, the interesting thing about the 9 keys, as Teen kind of alluded to, is that it has permeated our entire organization. When a deal alert is closed, a sales engineer writes up the 9 keys. When a customer goes live, the sales solution consultant and the engagement manager write up the 9 keys as well so that we can see the evolution of the customer, why they bought Zuora, what they were trying to accomplish, and then actually what happened to them during the implementation. So, what do CSMs actually do? Instead, we do optimization workshops. These workshops are structured around the 9 keys. I don't charge for these workshops, but there's a few triggers that actually can cause us to do an optimization workshop. Wow, I'm really going fast. The triggers for an optimization workshop can be multiple. If we see a customer's usage has dropped, that's a clear indication that something is going on in their business. It could be something that is related to how they use our product, or it could be something that's happening within their respective business. And so it's really important that the CSM not only understand how the customer is using Zuora, but also what is happening in their business. Because if you think about the 9-key model, a lot of it has to do with their ability to grow, their ability to streamline their internal operations, as well as use data to drive their growth. We also do optimization workshops when there, in fact, is an escalation. None of us have had an escalation, right? That's a great time to actually do it because it gives you an opportunity to come back in and to sit with each of the individuals who own a piece of that model. You've got your marketing who cares about pricing. You've got finance who cares about billing and collecting and accounting. And you've got the IT organization who cares about scale. And you're sitting down with them and truly seeking to understand what it is that they're trying to do with their business. Another little quick story about when you would want to do an optimization review. I actually had a customer about a week after go live say, hey, April, I'm ready to do that optimization workshop. And I'm like, dude, you are so not ready. You have not experienced the current state, nor have you experienced the pain that you need to experience in order to understand where it is that you want to go. So I told him no. And he came back 90 days later, and then we did do it for him. So preparing for these optimization workshops are really, really hard because you have to do a number of things. You have to take a look at usage. You have to understand what your customer bought relative to what it is that they're actually using. We take a look at our roadmap. We try and understand relative to what the customer is doing. Maybe perhaps they didn't adopt a certain feature that they should have. They could be on an older version of Zuora that maybe they shouldn't be on. We take a look at tickets, and we also, most importantly, is we have a conversation with the customer about where they're headed as an actual business. We don't walk in with a PowerPoint. It's a facilitated workshop. It's all done via whiteboard, and we talk about current state and we talk about future state. So what happens at the end of these workshops is that the customer gets recommendations on changes that they need to make as a business, as well as recommendations that we might have from their usage of Zuora. The relationship is really based on value in this case. So what we learned was that doing a quarterly business review really didn't work for our customers because it wasn't based on what they were trying to accomplish as a business. And frankly, it was too frequent. We even have an office reminder. This is actually a wall that sits in our customer success area, and it virtually covers the entire wall, but it's a constant reminder to every single person in our company what it is that our customers are trying to do, what they're trying to accomplish in this subscription economy. So thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Nina Bankar, and I work at Box. I'm a senior manager of customer success there, and I have 2 teams of customer success managers. A little bit about Box. As some of you may know, Box is a content collaboration solution that spans a number of different verticals. Some of you may have seen a recent announcement about GE, which is an amazing, great acquisition that we made from a customer perspective not too long ago. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, we have a lot of personal free users. And that's one of the things I love about Box, is that it's a solution that can cater to such a wide variety of users, of use cases, of verticals. It's something that I think caters to just a broad group of people, which is great. Box is really focused on the enterprise space, and one of the teams that I manage is the enterprise customer success team. Customer success at Box is really broken into 5 buckets, as this slide indicates. So the first one is really acquiring our customers, so selling to them. And once we've acquired that customer, the next step is implementing that customer. So making sure that we understand their business objectives and their use cases, and making sure that they are leveraging Box and customizing Box to meet those specific business objectives and use cases. Once we've gone live with Box within the customer's organization, the next phase is adopting Box. And that's really where the customer success managers jump in, is making sure that we understand who's the executive sponsor within the organization. What are the different ways that we can get users excited about Box? Is it lunch and learns? Is it trainings? Is it on-site visits? Is it getting messages from the executive sponsor out to the organization? But the real focus, obviously, is on driving adoption within the organization. And then we look at optimizing. So once we've gone live with Box within the organization, how do we further optimize the implementation to continue to meet the needs of that organization and exceed the needs of those organizations? So are there third-party applications we can connect to? Is there an extension of the platform that we can look at to just optimize their implementation and get even further value of Box within the organization? And then naturally, the next step is growing that account. So are there additional use cases that we can explore with the customer? Are there additional groups within the organization that we can start speaking with to expand Box's footprint within the organization? So those are the 5 buckets that we look at when, from a customer lifecycle perspective. So why QBRs? QBRs, which I refer to internally within Box as also activity and usage reviews, or some of you might call it health checks. But QBR, I think, is a very common terminology when it comes to these sit-downs with customers around their usage of your tool. So the first thing we do with QBRs is look at business objectives and use cases. And you heard me mention that earlier, but really, in order to be successful with a customer, we feel that we need to understand, why are they a customer at Box? What objectives are they trying to accomplish with Box? What are some of the pain points? What are some of their business needs? And so when we have these QBRs, it's typically done about 30 to 60 days post go live of Box, so that we've had an opportunity to see what the usage looks like and had an opportunity to have some users actually in the solution. So once we've gone live with Box, and we get together with the customer and just align with them on, these are the business objectives we believe you had going into this implementation of Box. Are these still the business objectives? And also, what about your use cases? Either the use cases that we believe we implemented for, do these still make sense? Or have they changed at all? But the whole point is, we want to make sure that we have solid alignment with the customer to make sure that we can continue to move forward in a productive way. So the first piece, business objectives and use cases, and then it really comes down to discussion around goals and success metrics. We want to make sure we are very, very clearly aligned with the customer on, how do you measure success of Box within your organization. For some customers, it could simply be they needed a tool that fit their security measures or their security needs, and IT was able to roll out an IT compliant tool for their organization. For others, it might be, we want to see 100% activity. We want to see all of our users logging in every day throughout the year. So it really varies, but the bottom line is, in these QBRs, we want to have a common understanding of what are the customer's goals and their measurements of success. And then we talk about data. So data is a very hot topic of conversation around Box, because without the data, we can't really have a productive conversation on usage and activity of the customer with Box. And you'll see in the slide, I just put a little example slide with 4 sample slides that we would put in a QBR, and the one in the top right corner shows some statistics, and that's some of the data that we would pull in advance of the QBR to give the customer visibility into the number of logins, the number of downloads, the number of previews, really just the data that we think they would find useful when talking about how successful is their implementation of Box. And we have a core set of data that we would typically provide to customers, but then we would really customize the data that we want to show the customer based on their use cases and their business needs. If a customer has a purely mobile use case, then we're obviously going to focus on our data around the mobile usage of Box within their organization. But then we're going to take it one step further. So they have a mobile use case. What else could they potentially be doing with Box? And we spend some time talking about, well, here's your current use case. Here's the data that shows that Box is successful in meeting the use case that you have. Now let's talk about expanding that. Let's talk about extending your usage, and let's talk about how else could we provide value to your organization, either via solutions functionality that we have within Box today, or potentially third-party apps, or potentially leveraging the API. So we really use this QBR as a way to have a productive discussion that is outcome focused, so that we can talk about what are our next steps after reviewing all these things. Is it potentially that the organization needs more training? Is it that they need more Box consulting hours to customize something or integrate something or leverage the API a little bit more? Is it that we need to have better executive sponsorship to drive communication within the organization? But really the point of the QBR is to provide the customer with the data, to align with the customer on business objectives and use cases, and then talk about what's next. What do we do to further drive value of Box within the organization?
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, my name is Helen Valentine. I am the Director of Customer Success Operations at Workday. Workday is a software as a service provider for HCM, payroll, financials, procurement, expense management. We celebrated our 9th year as a company this year, had a fairly successful IPO in 2012, and we just, for those of you that aren't familiar with our product, all of our customers are on one single code line. That is something that our co-founders, Anil Basuri and Dave Duffield, are very proud of. So what that means for customer success management is we're all speaking the same language. So over Easter weekend, every single one of our customers, and we're in the 600 plus range now, were converted over to Workday 22. And we launched a fairly successful recruiting product. I'll get off my soapbox and take my sales hat off. But I joined Workday almost 3 years ago and came into customer success management when it was a fairly misunderstood concept. And we made a point to differentiate ourselves from account management, and I'll talk a little bit about that in a second. In fact, I'll go to this next slide. It was a national emerging practice. Our SVP of services felt very strongly that we needed to have a clearly defined mission and charter in how we engage with our customers and hold ourselves accountable as well as our customers. So we really avoided the terminology of account management. Our goal is to strive to get our customers in a varying state of self-sufficiency. With the amount of adoption and change that we release on a semi-annual basis, we recognize that that's tough for our customers, but customer success management, our engagement is primarily with customers that are in production, and I'll talk more as we go through the slides around what, how we're trying to get to that level of self-sufficiency. I'm not going to focus so much on QBRs because our focus really is more around annual reviews, and I'm actually going to go to this next slide. It's more telling. Our subscription is on a 3-year cycle. So our actual time to recognize value with our customers, we have a longer runway, if you will. The way that our life cycle is broken down over a period of 3 years, most of our customers are typically deploying our software during that first year. So for those customers that are in deployment, maybe 20% because they're strategic, if there's some type of an investment, we're engaged with, but for about 80% of our customers, during that initial phase 1 deployment, we do not engage. And another interesting part of our model is that about 75% of our deployments are primed by partners. So Workday Professional Services will select, depending on different profiles, where they choose to engage. What that means is after that initial phase 1 deployment, customer success management has a huge role to play with driving adoption, driving utilization, and ensuring a successful renewal model. We've got about 600 customers across 8 to 9 global regions. There's about 40 to 45 customer success managers globally. And the reason that I'm in operations is to support these regional and global customer success managers. We continue to look at ways to streamline our delivery mechanism, to improve from a tooling perspective. We're looking at Gainsight this year to deploy our surveys, which are NPS-based, and we're huge fans at Workday of Net Promoter Score. But the operations team, and there's a few of us here, we engage with our customer success managers to continue to innovate our services. After that initial phase 1 go live, what we typically do is, and very much like those of the ladies on the panel here, it makes sense to engage with customers at the right time. So we will allow a period of time for customers to stabilize after they go live. We're not in the business of troubleshooting or dealing with break-fix type solutions. We want to make sure that our customers have had enough time to be in the world of production at Workday. We'll go in and deliver a post-go-live framework, which is essentially our opportunity to go in and do a health check on the customer and say, how are you doing? Are you using our support mechanisms? How is it being a customer in production? And that's also our opportunity to go in and position an annual review. So it's different than a quarterly business review. About 90% of our customers in production receive an annual review. It's built into their subscription at no additional cost. And it's a way for our regional CSMs to go in and connect and have a meaningful dialogue with their customers. The annual review, it's very much like a QBR, actually. We'll spend maybe a third of the presentation educating our customers on things that are relevant to Workday. So if we've got a major release or a new product that we're releasing, we talk about big data analytics. That's very top of mind right now. User conferences, things that are relevant. We have this great portal, the community. We don't want to assume that customers are up to date on that content, so we'll package up information that's relevant that we think that they would need to know about. We then shift the gears and focus on the customer. We have access to the support cases, so we want to look for trends. Are they logging cases? If they're not, that's a red flag, right? If they're logging cases and we're seeing a lot of how-to type questions, there's opportunity to position training or maybe some professional services. We have a report, an insight report, which customers have to opt into, and it's generated out of their production tenant, and it gives us visibility into what features and functions the customers are using, and that's tied to the SKUs that they've subscribed to. So that's where the discussion becomes much more meaningful, and it's very focused on the customer, right? So more often than not, you're sitting with your executive sponsors, your name support contacts, and you're saying, okay, within HCM, we saw that you're using 50% of the features and functions. We look for validation, and then that typically, and we listen. What was, your business case during the sales cycle was to get to 75% in year 2. We're noticing that you're not quite there yet. Tell us more about what it will take to get you there. And it's really important to listen and allow the customers to talk, and because it tells us, are they paying attention to what the services that are being released out on the community? Are they interacting with our sales organization? And if not, that's our opportunity to educate the customer on the different services available to get them to that next step. It gives us visibility into their roadmap, and so within Workday, we are not directly comped on selling product, cross-sell, upsell, but it sure doesn't hurt, and it justifies our value within the organization. So we're always looking for opportunities for the customer to get stickier with the product, because we've got 3 years to do that before we go through that renewal cycle. We then wrap up, and this is key. With our standard customers, where they get an annual review, the ask, and it's easier said than done, is there's always action items that come out of an annual review. We're certainly responsible for closing those out, and then we exit gracefully. If you look at this slide, there's lots of different mechanisms available to our customers. We've got our support organization, and there's a component of that customer care, where they can go in and interact directly with our customer care organization. We've got the community, we've got knowledge management, package services. And the reason that we're fairly aggressive about that is we do sell a premium customer success management service offering, which is about 10% of our customer base right now. We've got different layers of tiered model for that, but we don't want to give away the cow, or I always mess that expression up. We don't want to give our services away for free. Anywho, the next step is after, and this isn't perfect. It's not an exact science. I've been in this role, in the ops role, for 8 months. I was a CSM prior to that, and we're still trying to figure out how to manage the load of customers for CSMs, how to give them the support that they need, how to position premium services to them when we think they really need it, not give it away for free. So I'm being completely transparent to let you know that we haven't got it all figured out yet, and that's job security for me. But the goal is for each of the interactions with our customers, they have to be meaningful for the customer, not just fulfilling a need for Workday. So the second time around, the CSM will go in and deliver a year 2 APR, and that's typically at the end of year 2, beginning of year 3. We should know more about that customer. During the initial APR, we leverage systems, Salesforce, our learning management system, but it's all fairly generic. By the time that we deliver that second APR, we should have more meaningful dialogue, and the focus has to resonate with them. We should be talking to them, be mindful of when their fiscal year is, when their budgeting cycle is, get to them, have the discussions so that they've got time to go back and justify additional services or SKUs. And we're working on that. I mean, that's something that, I meet with the CSMs every 2 weeks, and we're continuing to brainstorm and figure out ways to improve our services. So we do offer QBRs as part of our premium service. It's a much higher level of touch, but that's only for 10% of our customers. 90% we're going through this annual review process, and we're continuing to learn along the way. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So I'm not sure. There we go. Thank you guys very much for the comments. Clearly, Helen, there is no blueprint. There's no roadmap for how this is supposed to work. But there's a lot of really good advice. There's a lot of difference in the cadence from a quarterly approach to a event-triggered approach to an annual approach. I think in the end, the goals and objectives are very similar. I would like to open up the floor for questions from the audience. I see a couple of hands. We'll start right in the back. Very back. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, one of the burning questions that I have listening to all of you speak is, how do you scale this? We have 2,000 customers. How do you possibly do this kind of one-on-one, tender loving care, hand-holding that you're talking about, which sounds terrific? How do you have the resources to do that?
You pick and choose wisely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I mean, I think the thing that I would say is that there was a gentleman, and I think in one of the previous panels that talked about not every customer is equal. And I think you have to segment out your customer base and figure out what services you can deliver to that particular segment, and be super clear about how you're going to measure success, and know that if things are not going the way in which you want it to, you got to iterate. I think bottom line is to really seek to understand what your customers are asking of you, not what you think that they want, but specifically what it is that they need from you, and to iterate and then to scale. Because if you can't, it doesn't make sense to scale if you're not doing the things that your customers actually need. So I would encourage you to be bold, to ask the question, then segment, then iterate, and then scale.
Yeah.
Great feedback.
We're in a similar position where we're going through a customer segmentation cycle right now, and about 50% of our customer base is medium enterprise, so 3,000 employees and less, and then we've got large enterprise and then mega large enterprise. And our RVP struggle in a subscription model, yes, they understand not all customers are the same, and we can talk about ARR, but there could be that one medium enterprise, that Twitter or that, right, that does well. And so I think the trick is, to your point, you go through this segmentation exercise, you figure out the value that you get out of that. There are just going to be those customers that are never going to invest more, but they will continue to be referenceable, they will renew. And maybe they're perfectly happy with an annual review. Maybe that is good enough.
Yeah. We started off by doing everyone, and we only have 250 customers, and everyone has a CSM, and some of our accounts are really small. And so just that one-on-one relationship with your customer success manager can kind of account for what gets done in a quarterly business review sometimes. What we are starting to do is leverage tools, actually Gainsight, to look at different triggers and move more towards Zuora's model of things that can actually trigger a QBR as opposed to making it every quarter by default. So, things like an executive sponsor change, a drop in usage. So that's kind of the way we're moving. And then obviously, like our preferred and plus accounts will always have that high level of service.
And I would agree with everything these ladies said. It's a matter of figuring out how you prioritize which accounts need the QBRs. I would say arguably they all need it to some degree, but it's a matter of determining what does adoption look like for these accounts? How far away are they from the renewal? Is it right about now the time that I should get in front of them, X number of months before the renewal, to make sure that they have this visibility into what their usage looks like. The other thing that we've been looking at is these QBRs are time consuming. It takes a while to put it together. It takes a while to determine what the data looks like, your talking points, and then find time with the customer, and then the action items. It's a time-consuming process. So we're constantly trying to determine how can we make it more scalable. Is there an automation that we can build out to collect all the data for us? Is there a resource that we can leverage to help us with the analysis? Is there a tool out there that could help us with the analysis? So it's a mixture of prioritization and figuring out how to scale the delivery of them.
Great. Next question. Go right ahead in the back. Thank you.
As a rabid fan of the unsubscribe button in pretty much every email I get, I can imagine a quarterly business review might get annoying for a lot of customers. At my company, we have a really customer-oriented approach. We're constantly in touch with them. We send them a survey when we finish an implementation. We send them a survey when they close a support case. We're often in touch with our clients, and I think for some clients, it would just be like a burden to be asked to join this quarterly review meeting. Is that your experience? Do you feel like you have to cajole your clients into a quarterly meeting? For those of you who actually use the quarterly process, and if you do struggle to get them into these meetings, what sort of strategies or tactics do you use to get them into those meetings?
To QBR or not to QBR? That is the question.
That's why I don't know.
I find that there's certain customers that are jumping up and down saying, yes, let's do a QBR, and there's others that say, no, I got all sorts of other things that I need to do. I have no interest in talking to you. So what we try to do in those situations is entice them with some interesting data to present to them. If there's an account that we know has just been really unresponsive to us, and their renewal's coming up, their adoption looks decent, what do we see with their usage, their data, or what events do we have coming up, or what new product features are about to be announced that we feel is enticing enough for them to make that time? And so I typically tell my CSMs, for an account that doesn't seem interested in this, and we find a lot of value in having this conversation, look at their usage or see, knowing what you know of their business, how can we almost lure them into having this conversation with us? Because it really becomes a very strategic conversation, and it's a conversation. It's not just us explaining to the customer X, Y, and Z, but we try to figure out what is going to get them to bite at our wanting to have a conversation with them.
So I think we actually only have time for one more question. Right in the back. Thank you, sir.
One of the common themes seems to be understanding customer goals, measuring how they measure success, tracking that. Would love to hear how you document that, and this might be more of a Salesforce question. We use Salesforce. I want it to be such that customer success is documenting this information. Sales can see it. We're on the same page. When we do our QBRs, sales is with us. We want to present that united front. Sorry if this is too down in the weeds, but would love to hear how you actually track that data.
We customize Salesforce, and we've got this whole customer interaction activity tracking section that we have within Salesforce, and we've got a pick list about a mile long, and we make sure that folks that are engaging with our customer base have access to that information. We're completely transparent. There's certain information like product utilization that we have to restrict because it's customer data, but anything that passes the legal and security, thumbs up, or the litmus test, we make available. I think within Workday, it's interesting. We continue to have to internally market our group and our value add, and I think by sharing how we engage with our customers, how scalable we are, whether it's our product managers, our developers, our strategy folks, our sales teams, it's really resonating to have a conversation with somebody that leads our development organization and said, do you know that within fiscal year 14, we engaged with 78% of our production customers, and this is what we did. Executives lean in, they want to know. So it's not just sales, it's the entire organization. It's a way to justify our organization and the value that we drive, and we make it completely transparent within Salesforce. We've got dashboards. It's all custom stuff right now, and again, we're going to have to leverage a tool like Gainsight because the grassroots effort that we have in place right now, we need help.
We use Gainsight.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie. Well, unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I really want to thank you all for joining us today, and thank you to the wonderful panel members today and your experiences. And have a great rest of your Pulse conference. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. Was that an all-star cast or what? Yeah, great job. Great.